Hi there, it's Andy again. Thanks ever so much for joining me. Thanks ever so much for liking and subscribing to the channel. It's all going really well. Just need to get some big fish. But today, just going to do a 2-hook flapper, very simple. And at the end of it, it shows you a little section where I was using it on the beach to try and catch some fish. Excuse my red lips. Had some red wine today, so happy days. So 2-hook flapper, very, very simple. Again, I've explained some of the lines that I like to use, some of the knots that I like to use, but 2-hook flapper, normally I use a little bit closer in, sandy beaches, with a rolling lead as well rather than grip lead. The standard grip lead is, I say standard, obviously has the wires which grips it in against the tide, and also when fish take, it allows them to get hooked, whereas the rolling lead tends to cover a little bit of ground, and also if you wished you can actually wind the line in slightly, which it drifts along the bottom and rolls along the bottom, trying to find certain areas where the fish may be sat. So this is what I use on the 2-hook flapper. So this is a Gemini link, but it's a rolling link, so it's got a swivel attached to the end of it, like so. With your main rig bodies, which I normally use, as we've said before, 70, 80, maybe 100 pounds. This particular one, I'm going to use 70. And the simple reason is I don't cast it too far, but it's still, this is the main thing which is on the ground, on the floor, rubbing against rocks or sharp stones or whatever. So that's the main thing which I think you need to always concentrate on. So that's the rig body. Again, I don't measure anything. Always start from the bottom. So very simply, we do my style of half blood knot. Very simple. Remember, we wet the line. We gently pull it down, so there's minimal friction on the knot. When I say minimal friction, if the knot gets hot, it can damage the line. So that's why I sort of pull it down gently and wet it. So all's good there. Because this one isn't clipped down, you can snip it as close as you like to the knot, but again, I normally leave a couple of mil, just so, like I said before, if there's any time where it needs a bit of little bit of give, you're not going to pull the lead off of the knot as such. So for this, we have really simple stuff. There's going to be a couple of homemade stop knots in this rig, so quite simple, standard bead. I think they call them 5 mil. I think they do. So pop that through there. Need my glasses. Ordinary swivel, smaller swivel than normal. So a smaller swivel than normal. Pop that on. Another bead. So that's going to start the basis of the rig. So if you want to get really excitable, change colours. So one bead there, another swivel, another bead there. I think the eye on that one's a little bit too tight, so we'll go try that one. That looks a bit better. There we go. So now we have those two set and ready. Pretty simple. Now I'm going to tie my the swivel which attaches to my main line on now. The reason being is because I've got 4 beads on, 2 swivels, I don't want them falling off. So very simply, very quickly, gently pull it down. Just making sure all that's all right. So there we go. Some may say, because this is a rig which you're probably not going to distance cast, do you need to have such heavy line? Do you need to have such heavy swivel? Like I said before, they tend to work for me. Although in my most recent videos, it doesn't show that as much, but they do tend to work for me. So happy days. So there we go. So the next thing we're going to do is going to start tying some stop knots. So remember before, 10, maybe 12 inches of line. This is the same line as I've used in the past, 35 pound. And just to start with, I'm going to do the top one to fasten that in place. Then I'm going to do the bottom one. And then when I do the hook snoods, I don't want them overlapping each other. So we can sort of adjust. So we'll tie the snoods on in a minute, but then we can adjust the stop knots themselves. So here we go. Whilst I've been chatting, hopefully you've seen what I've done in the past as well. Very simple. Done the loops, pop that back through 5 or 6 times, 4 or 5 times, 5, 6, whatever. And then wet, pulling tight. Oops. And like I said before, with the stop knots, if you do it tight enough so it doesn't move under cast, ideal. But also if you do it loose enough that if you get a fish, the fish itself, if need be, could slide that down. So you know, there's a catch-22 there, excuse the pun, but there's a catch-22. I always think to do it tight enough so it doesn't slide easily, but under a certain amount of pressure, it will slide but not damaging the line. So that one's fixed now. So there we go. So I'm going to fix the other one in place now as well. Same sort of idea. So do the stop knot. Takes a few seconds just to do. If you're not chatting and just focused on making rigs, you can make your own rigs up in less than 10 minutes, literally less than 10 minutes. So if you had a couple of hour session where you couldn't get out due to the weather, and you wanted to make up rigs, there's no reason why you couldn't make 10 rigs of an evening. Takes time, but there's no reason why you couldn't do it. Well, even if you did 5. So there we go. So we've got the basis of the fixed paternoster, 2 hook fixed, or 2 hook flapper rig they call it. Why? Because they're flapping around. It's pretty simple. Right, so hook lengths. Tie that one on there. I tend to prefer, personally on this sort of rig, I tend to prefer not to have it past the weight. So almost like in line with the weight, that sort of thing. So that one there, very nearly there. I'll trim that up in a minute. And the other one, similar sort of thing. that through there. Just make sure that's all nice and tight. The basis of the rig body on this the hook length on this particular rig I've done is £40 Amnesia. Sometimes I use a lot less, but just for the purpose of today is £40 Amnesia. Perfect. So those two are there. I mentioned about the tubing before. I like the tubing personally. I think it makes the rig or the hook lengths stand off the rig itself. I'll just slide those on. Now some people might want to put pop-up beads or attractors, i.e. sequins, that sort of thing. On this occasion, I'm not going to bother. I'm just going to tie the hooks on pretty much straightforwardly and have it very, very simple. As simple as I can really on this one. So the tubing, just trying to slide it on there. As long as it's pretty much over the knot. It's proving a little bit difficult on this particular one. Don't want to do it, but never mind. There we go. So just over the knot there, and it makes the just makes the line stand off the rig a little bit more. Quite simple. And the other one, the last one played a little bit hard to get, so hopefully this one will play ball. If not, I'll whack him on over the knot and then just trim it up a little bit. Yeah, there we go. So that's that. So we're slowly getting there. You just see both lines dangling down. That's the top part of the rig which you cast out from, and then you can just see these lines just standing off. And what I tend to like to do is when I tie a rig, the hook can't catch the top of that one, and likewise I don't like the hook catching the top of the weight, so I just trim that one up slightly. Pop a couple of small hooks on. Again, the idea of this rig is you are probably going for smallish fish, probably, but there's no harm in putting bigger hooks on and hoping for bigger fish. So these are size 4s. Problem is with these little hooks and £40 line, sometimes it's difficult to tie the hook through the eye. But let's have a go. Some people may say, why are you using such small hooks? Well, the size of a flounder mouth or small whiting, pouting, sole, dogfish, those hooks themselves will catch all of those fish. So there we go. I don't know if you can just quite see that. Size 4 Kamazans, and they will catch a lot of fish that you don't realise. So size 4. Again, do the same again. On this occasion, I'm not bothering with putting beads on the hook lengths, not bothering putting sequins or anything like that. Just going to keep it nice and simple. And like I said before, every time you go out, make sure you change your rigs. It doesn't take that long to make these rigs up. 10 minutes if you were focused on it. So that's that. Right, let's just tidy a few things up. And now let's do the top parts of the stop knots. But before I do, just want to make sure they don't catch each other, which I don't think they do. So that one's perfect. That one could just do with being slid up very slightly. Again, just check the hooks, make sure they don't catch. That one can go up very slightly as well. So one there, perfect. That one there, perfect. Okay, so now I can just finish off this rig. Cool. So the reason why I'm doing this now on the other bead is to stop the hook sort of shooting up the other way as well. So it's fixing it in place. Put that one through very quickly. Like so. Slide that down a little bit. Cool. Trying to make sure you don't cut the wrong bit of line, and there we go. Just finishing this off now. As I say, at the end of this this rig making exercise, I do a little clip of out fishing with the rig in a particular area that I'm trying to read the beach to show people why you'd use this rig in certain places, and also what fish you'd be targeting. But that said, there's no rule for one fish. You know, if the bait's in the right place at the right time on a particular rig that you made, which has got sharp hooks, good bait, fresh line, that sort of thing, you're giving yourself every chance of catching that fish, whatever it is. But also making these sort of rigs up gives you a better opportunity at certain species that you might be trying for. So there we have it. There is a 2-hook flapper. So starting off at the business end, starting off at the casting end, which is the swivel there. So you've got your 2 beads, 2 stop knots, swivel with a little bit of silicone tubing with a hook, and then as you come down through, again, that one's there, hooks are pretty sharp, nice and simple. Oops, nice and simple, rolling lead, which hopefully will roll into let's say a little crevice or a nook or cranny or whatever when you've got it out on the beach and you're trying to find those species. If you like what you're seeing, please like, subscribe. Thanks ever so much. Comments, things like that. Really appreciate it. And we'll see you soon. Thank you. Hi everybody, Andy again. It's now Wednesday 23rd of December. Feels like I haven't been out for ages, but actually it's probably only about 4 or 5 days ago, tops. I'm down at Burnham, or otherwise known as Lower Light, which is a big stretch of sandy beach, very tidal, quite muddy at times. I'm fishing for cod, and I've just found a little channel which I'm going to be fishing next to. So I'm going to be putting a small bait in that channel, hoping for a flatfish of some description. So one is obviously cod, the other one, fingers crossed, is fish. A flatfish rig, very simple. Is a 2-hook flapper, baited with ragworms. Not going to cast very far. I've got a rolling lead, and ideally I'm going to be putting this into the channel It just moves about. Hopefully a few small fish, like I say, flatfish. Who knows, even maybe a sole would be fantastic. So I'll be popping that one in. I'll show you the channel very shortly. We just started. It's not miserable yet, but I'm sure it could be. Let's show you the channel. So these are the sandy. This is the big sandy beach. But what I'm fishing next to is this thing here. So what I believe, fish may come up to this sort of area and swim up through it as the tide comes in. High tide is in about 2 hours time. So let's see what happens. Fingers crossed.